The CattleUSA Daily Podcast. Today we are welcoming back Dan Gerhold with the CattleUSA Insurance team. And today we are talking all things what is going on in the markets, what is going on in the world as far as everything. We talk cattle, we talk hogs, we talk grain markets. We're hitting on everything today and discussing what has happened not only in the past week but in the past month and how that has affected our markets and everything that we are seeing from our side. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this episode with Dan. Dan, welcome back to the podcast. Happy Wednesday. How are you? How's life? How are the markets? What's going on in the world?
Doing well. Markets were exciting again this week. I think last time we talked, we had tested limit down and came back from it since then and put new highs in yesterday. So can't beat that.
Yes.
This bull in this cattle market is pretty resilient.
Okay. Are you wearing another shirt?
Absolutely.
I just noticed that. That's
Grass cattle
amazing.
season. Yeah, everybody's pulling off grass. You gotta celebrate. I love this time of year. Big, hard, stretched out yearling steers. Gosh, they're fun. And they're fun to feed.
Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
one's a little bit more low key. It just kind of faded into the background for me. It wasn't like bright pink and blaring in my face, but I'll be darned, there's cows and there's grass on it.
That's right. Yeah, gotta represent. No, you gotta celebrate the bull market every time.
Jeez.
Like we talked, we won't wear them when the market's down hard, but
Yes.
when she's going strong, you gotta celebrate.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Heck yeah. All right, break down what's going on for us.
Yeah. Big push higher yesterday. It's chopping around, beating everybody up. Doesn't really matter what side of this market you're on, whether you're long or short. She's got something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Saw a big open interest move yesterday. Makes me want to believe that the funds are back and getting involved again in cattle. When you start putting feeders up $6 and fats up 3 to 4, an old limit. If we needed reminders of that, but kind of a ho-hum day the way it trades anymore. So, um, I don't know. New month, new money. I don't know if that's why they're coming back in, but the prior 2 weeks they had been liquidating for just a few contracts, and now they're back. So, quite possible that they're putting together their next cattle on feed numbers, and they're realizing that placements were short again. My guess is we really don't have anything to talk about on the marketing side because they're not ramping up kills, but placements could have been bullish if they're putting those numbers together, and they decided to be a buyer yesterday in a big way. So equities aren't a mess or quite the mess they were the week prior. So that might have given them a little bit of faith. They need to get back on the long side of cattle, and at the same time, boxes moved higher. You know, I think when we talked last week, we mentioned that the Packers had cut the kills, and the depressing part was we were not seeing boxes move higher on lower kills yet to boot. So that had me a little bit concerned about demand side of things. The retailers got the ball, they're in control. But at the end of the day, you can write up a newsletter about it explaining it, and USDA comes out and revises their cutout sheet, and all of a sudden we put $6-8 on the cutout this week already. So choice box is really coming on strong. I think just the fewer amount of cuts available because of that lower kill. Domestic consumer still resilient even amidst $20 steaks, but someday it's going to start cutting in and hurting. But yesterday was not the day. So a little softer this morning on the open. Not surprised. A little bit of a hangover. You have a big move like that in feeders, you're gonna pull her back a buck, not the end of the world. So we'll see. Long term, yeah, it's kind of nerve wracking for anybody and everybody. But when they're selling, I saw some 80s, 355, just absolutely unreal. When you start talking those kind of prices, I thought it was crazy when we started buying steers and or even the heifers. A lot of break evens pushing up in that 220. I thought that was high enough. Now all of a sudden we're 230, 235. Evidently some of these feed yards think corn's going to be free. So I don't know. Either way, the grass man's enjoying it. The cow calf man's enjoying it. Feed yard man's a little worried, but at the same time, cash is expected higher again this week. I really didn't think so, Lauren. I was calling for a lower cash market this week just from the standpoint Packers weren't aggressive last week, and they have some inventory around them that they could get by another week. But long story short is they're expecting higher cash this week. It's going to be great. hoorah, take it when we can get it, right?
Percent. I'm not going to complain. Like you said, we're going to take it when we can get it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It sounds like maybe shooting for that 248, 250 in the north. South is kind of at a crossroads here for me right now. I really think that they could push pretty hard and, try and narrow that north south spread. So far, it's, the last couple weeks have been a little bit disappointing. They haven't been lower, but they just haven't done the work I thought they could. We'll see, this week if they're able to narrow that spread up and, get up in that 240 money. That's a big ask for me, but it might be 238. Either way, the basis is still positive, encouraging hedgers to stay current. So, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, honestly, like this is going to be one of those years that we've said it multiple times, or at least I've said it, that like the ag economics textbooks that our kids are going to get in school are going to talk about this crazy year that we've had. And just you couldn't have guessed this on a crystal ball, even if you had one that worked. Like, it's been crazy. It's been crazy looking out at the past 6 months in the past year, and then what in the heck could potentially happen in the next 6 months. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, well, just, yeah, 6 months for sure. But even in the last month, the month of July, August feeders
Yeah.
went from 309 up to, the highest they traded in July was 340. So you put $31 on August feeders. And with where August feeders are trading right now up at that 340, from where they got listed a year ago, they put $100 on. I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable. We all want to celebrate and whatnot. Obviously, the hedgers are getting burned pretty hard. One contract. If you would have just shorted one contract of August feeders when it got listed, you'd be down 50 grand. That's a big number. Start adding some size to that, it gets pretty painful. So, inevitably, a lot of guys are still holding those hedges, which is good if they've got the cattle to back them up. But the short's still holding it, not blowing out like crazy. The market's, like I said, giving everybody a little taste of pain here and there. The longs felt some pain last week. Now the shorts are feeling pain this week. So it's something else. Volatility is. I don't know if I want to say it's at max right now, but it feels like it's getting pretty close to that level. So good
Yeah, it's
time
like we
for
don't want to
options.
say that it's at max, but it's getting close. It's getting really close. And we're not testing anything here. Like we're not saying that we need to push it any harder, but yeah, it's there.
No, no, we don't need to see limit moves. Yeah, that with these limits we have, $7 fats, $8 feeders. No, I don't want to hit those in either
We're
direction.
good. We're good.
It's not good for the market up or down.
Yeah.
So we want slow, steady climb higher. But fats, they broke out yesterday out of their trend channel that they've been riding in for the last 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see, if we get that higher cash, are we going to maintain and continue on outside of that trend channel, or are we going to pull back within it? A little bit
Mhm.
concerned about that, but overall, with the way the base is and the expectation cash is going to be higher, we should continue and make that next leg higher, staying outside of that trend channel. So it'll be interesting to see what traders do, to finish the week.
Yeah, as always. What's happening in the grain markets right now?
Same old puke. It seems like path of least resistance is lower, and it's probably going to continue that way. I would think for another week or two. We got some crop tours going on here in the coming weeks. We're going to start seeing some scouting getting done, kernel counts. Inevitably, the funds keep putting pressure on the sell side. So until they decide to start liquidating, it's just going to keep going lower. We've got the sales on the books, we just don't have the shipments. A lot more grain sitting around old crop than I thought there would have been. I think a lot of people were holding on to that grain, with the expectation we were going to, what was it, 89-year drought we were expected to have here this year. That would have made for a pretty epic August, September corn market, old crop wise. Didn't get it. Got the rains, crop looks great. Yeah, of course you're hearing issues everywhere like you do every year, pollination or too wet or, a pocket here that's too dry or here and there. But overall, I think the market's gonna probably. I guess I'm shooting for a low here, late August, sometime in September. I don't yet quite know what my number is, but I think I'll be pretty aggressive buying buying corn in the 370s. It just seems like, hey guys, let's be realistic. There's people expecting $2 corn now, but come on. They said that back during COVID, and all of a sudden demand just goes through the roof. Low prices cure low prices, and they do it by bringing new demand in. So, um, let's just hope that, yeah, we find that bottom soon and get these traders to blow out of their shorts. Wheat market's been mostly sideways, had a big move lower yesterday, but I'm hoping that maybe that was the beginning of the end. So we really need to see that wheat market turn around.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else that we missed that we need to hit on for this week, or anything else that's happening in the markets right now?
Hog market's been something else of late, justifiably so, considering that the cutouts up there 110, well, roughly. Cash hogs 110 to 115, a little bit of 117 last week, I believe. Overall, hogs can do some work if the consumer is strapped for cash on beef. They're going to go to pork is the next best thing. They can only eat chicken so much. So, it's kind of tough because pork belly makes up a big chunk of that cutout on the hog side. So it's not really the best time of year for the bellies to make a huge rally much further than what they have. I think last I checked, what was that? There was a brief spell we'd punched over 200 on the belly, but yeah, we're back at 190. Really solid numbers. I mean, your pork cutout likes to peak out last week of July, first week of August. Here we are, and we're running 118. Sorry, it wasn't 110, but 118. Depending where we go over the next 2-3 weeks is probably going to decide what we need to be doing with this fall and wintertime hogs. Overall, the kill numbers have been low, so it's hard for me to hit the sell button on an $85 December, hog price. So if those kill numbers stay low, it proves that the disease pressure was more than what the USDA had reported. So maybe that continues on through October and into December. And if that is the case and that kill number stays low, I would think you could put $4 or $5 on hogs as long as we don't wreck demand.
Amazing, amazing. How's insurance, LRPs, all of those things looking?
I mean, if you ask me, it's a great opportunity. You're setting new all-time highs. Really. A common theme right now, Lauren, is, well, two things really. Guys that have been doing LRPs the last couple, 3 years, some of them had that claim in 23 when the board puked, managed money jumped out in a quick hurry, and I think we lost 40, $50 on futures, and cash prices dropped with it. But they claimed then, and that was the last time. So one common theme I'm hearing is guys are all mad because LRP's not claiming, they're just writing checks. Let's go back and remind people we just put $30 on August feeder cattle in the last month. Your LRPs are not going to claim, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving up, $6, $8, $10 a hundredweight to realize that $30 or more rally. A lot of those guys put on those August feeder LRPs back when, we traded $2.90 or $3. Well, now you're talking a $40, $50 rally since they did those. Of course, they're not going to claim, but at the end of the day, I mean, do you get mad you buy pickup insurance every year and don't wreck your truck, and now you got to pay that premium too? It's like,
Exactly.
wake up, people. I'm not trying to be mean or crude, but sometimes we need a wake up call. Yeah, you're just not going to get these $40, $50 rallies forever. It's awesome. It's here. I don't know that we've ever seen this happen this fast. 2-3 months put on $40, $50. Just be happy you bought LRP and didn't sell futures. Otherwise, you'd have been giving up a lot more than that, $8, $10 premium. So I guess I get it. Nobody likes writing checks to insurance, especially when they didn't need it. But the problem, it's insurance. It's better to have it and not need it than it is to, same thing I've said before, need it and not have it. So
Yeah.
the one thing I don't want to see is the guys get frustrated that it hasn't claimed, since that 2023, late, it was fall winter time of 23. So we haven't seen anything in 2 years. I don't want to see guys give up on it and all of a sudden this market turns around and we take 40, $50 off in 2-3 months. So that's a little bit concerning. Premiums, of course, they've gone up. Volatility's gone up. These things are somewhat based off put option premiums. So when the market pukes $7, $8 in a single day, you're going to see puts go through the roof, and that's going to make your LRPs more expensive. So it's just one of those things we have to deal with it at all-time record highs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I still think it's a great tool. I'm still using it on my cattle and not gonna stop. It's one of the better tools out there. I can walk them through. Well, I'll just give you an example. 100 head, and say it costs you $90 a head. You're talking about $9,000 worth of premium. Pretty simple. If you would have shorted feeders, I mean, you're talking 2, 3, 4 times that. It's just use that tool for the way it's meant to be used. Be happy that the market went up and you're making some pretty solid money on these cattle. So someday we're gonna miss these days.
Yes, let's enjoy it while we can, for sure. But going back to what we were talking about, like the market is volatile right now. It's all over the place, and Lord, we are not testing it, but I mean, highs can only last for so long. And it's one of those situations that we don't have that crystal ball. We can't sit here and be like, this is what's going to happen in the markets and know exactly when you need to be like backing yourself and covering yourself and all of these things. And so it's just like, do it now, because we don't know, unfortunately. Like, and if we did, trust me, Dan and I probably wouldn't be doing this. We would probably be sitting on a beach in Cabo. Like, sorry guys.
Exactly. I mean, you take 4 and 5 weight calves that, some guys are gonna, turn out on that second turn of grass. Step out, look at that November, look at that January at 335, 330,
Mm-hmm.
there's profit you can insure. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 6, 8 months. It might go to 4, it might go to back to, 280. You got to do something here at record high prices, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Anything else we missed that we need to cover today? Are we good?
I think we hit on all of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, Dan, as always, thank you for your time and for all of your knowledge and information that you bring to all of our listeners out there. Make sure that you like, subscribe, rate, review, do all of the things. Check out our show notes down below where we have that exclusive CattleUSA insurance link. So if you listen to today's podcast and you want to get a hold of the team and start discussing what options you might have, make sure you head down to those show notes and follow that link, and you'll be able to see all of that information that we have there for you. And as always, we will see you all tomorrow on another episode. Have a good one, y'all.